the news, a lawmaker urges the public to make the controversial tax reform law an election issue. Days away from the Feast of the Black Nazarene, we give you a glimpse at how the iconic image is dressed for Traslacion. And roll out the red carpet, award season kicks off in Hollywood. We tell you who's likely to win at the upcoming Golden Globes. Good evening, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us. As the country expects the impact of the new tax law, a lawmaker appeals to Filipinos to give it a chance. But another urges the public to make those behind the train law pay in the next election. Our Anjo Alimario has more.
With the looming increase in prices of fuel and basic goods, Deputy Speaker Ferdinand Castro urges the public to give the measure a little more time.
Hindi fair na kailangang husgahan na natin itong train sapagkat ilang araw pa lang naman itong naging effective sa ating bansa.
He believes the law is for the poor. Castro cites an example, the higher prices of sweetened drinks.
Ang intensyon dito o ang balak ng ating pamahalaan ay para mapangalagaan ang kalusugan ng ating mga mamamayan.
But Think Tank Ibon Foundation is unconvinced.
Ano lang yun tingnan namin smokescreen lahat yan for a basic tax package na gusto bawasan ang buwis ng mayaman at dagdagan ng buwis sa mahirap.
Executive Director Sunny Africa explains at most, only 6 to 7 million Filipinos will benefit from the new tax law.
Para sa amin, ang pinakapabigat ng trend is for the 15 million families, poorest families na walang income tax gain pero they're paying the higher taxes because of the other elements of train.
The law will face legal scrutiny as the Makabayan bloc at the lower house is set to question the law's constitutionality before the Supreme Court. Africa believes the entire law should be struck down.
Basically, yung tendency ng train is to create a tax system lowering taxes on the rich and increasing taxes on the poor. So that goes against the spirit of a progressive tax system.
He also says the Finance Department should instead go after the rich.
Increasing income tax only by about 10 to 20 percentage points, pwede mag-generate ng 90 billion pesos yung DOF.
ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino says lawmakers who pushed for the law should be held accountable this midterm election.
Palagay ko dapat tandaan ng taong bayan na magiging number one electoral issue itong train na to. Sino ang dapat yung pasalamatan sa pagtaas ng mga presyo na yan? Huwag nyo sila kalibutan.
That is, if elections do push through in 2019. Anjoli Mario, CNN Philippines.
The Energy Department says we may see fuel price increases by January 15th because of the tax reform law. Speaking to CNN Philippines, Undersecretary Wimpy Fuentebella says the implementation of the excise tax is not dependent on time, but on stocks in oil refineries, depots, and stations.
Collected siya January 1. 'Di ba? However, itong mga stocks na to, hindi naman ito yung bibilhin mo rin at January 1 pag bumili ka sa stasyon. Kasi yung nandoon sa mga gasoline stations ay may old stocks na hindi pa charge nung January 1. Kailangan natin matrace kung yung binibili natin ay yun nang na-charge ng excise tax by January 1. How are we going to do that? Ang na-require ng Department of Energy ay, number 1, the gasoline stations should post for the public to know that they are already charging excise tax for kerosene, gasoline, or diesel. Kasi there can be a situation na may excise tax na si diesel at wala pang excise tax si gasoline or si kerosene.
Fuentebella says they will visit oil depots, refineries, and stations to check if there are posts indicating which fuel products are affected by the excise tax. He encourages the public to help and take photos of gasoline stations without proper postings.
So anong effect na pag walang nakapost? Ibig sabihin yan ay para tayong nakikipag-date sa isang lalaki kung babae tayo or isang babae kung lalaki tayo na hindi nagsasabi ng totoo or hindi forthright. So, bakit ka pa bibili dyan? Ganun yung mga impact niyan.
The auto industry is expected to feel the impact of the tax reform law because of the higher excise tax. Our senior correspondent Cecil Lardizabal with the details.
If there was one good thing that the excise tax did for car dealers and manufacturers, it was to drive car sales to new highs as consumers fell into a panic buying mode in the last quarter of 2017. This particular dealer says clients rushed to purchase vehicles to avoid the impact of potential higher prices that the tax reform law was expected to trigger. Almost all stocks were consumed, leaving minimal display at the showroom. But after the calm comes the storm. This car dealer sees a significant drop in sales in the first quarter this year after hitting an almost 60% increase in sales last December.
Nag-panic buying po yung mga tao since October. So ang forecast namin ngayon, gradually din siya bababa. Siyempre, the thinking ng mga tao, tataas talaga yung ipapatong na tax.
Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez believes small cars may generally see a decline in sales.
Pero mag-a-adjust pa rin yan. Eventually, may bibili at bibili pa rin yan.
The new law imposes a 4% excise tax on automobiles worth 600,000 pesos and below from the old 2% excise tax. Automobiles worth more than 600,000 to a million pesos will be taxed 10%. The old tax rate was 12,000 plus 20% of the amount in excess of 600,000. Premium car distributors see a positive impact of the new tax reform law on car sales this year. Specifically for this importer distributor, the optimism goes with new models coming in by the middle part of the year. The new law imposes a 20% excise tax on automobiles worth 1 million to 4 million pesos. The old rate was 112,000 pesos plus 40% of the amount over 1.1 million pesos. Automobiles worth 4 million and above will now be taxed 50%.
I think for the luxury segment in general, it will make the vehicles more competitive in the market.
Although Volvo anticipates a decrease in excise taxes, there will be no drastic decrease in market prices.
We have actually been subsidizing to a certain extent the prices because we don't want our vehicle SRPs to fluctuate so much.
For locally manufactured vehicles, dealers say they have no choice but just to stay on their toes. Cecil Lardizabal, CNN Philippines.
Ride-sharing app Grab is joining other transport groups pushing for a fare increase with a looming fare hike in fuel prices. Grab has submitted a petition at the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board to raise fares by an average of 5%. Under the petition, Grab will retain its base fare at 40 pesos but will increase rates per kilometer by 1 peso, charging anywhere between 11 and 15 pesos. It will also raise its rate per minute by 10 centavos. Grab hopes to set a hearing with the LTFRB on Wednesday.
To be honest, magiging mas mahirap para sa mga drivers na kumita ng sapat para sa pamilya nila, no? Mas mahirap. Up and downs ng cost ng living, no? Wala po tayong naging adjustment. So ngayon po lang talaga yung adjustment na hinihingi mo namin na maliit lang.
Moving on to entertainment news, David Letterman comes out of retirement to host a new show on Netflix. The show, My Next Guest Needs No Introduction, launches January 12th. It's an hour-long 6-episode series, and his first guest definitely needs no introduction, former President Barack Obama. It will be Obama's first talk show appearance since leaving office. Other guests lined up include Tina Fey, Jay-Z, and George Clooney. Who's excited for the Golden Globes? The big party in Hollywood kicks off Sunday night. That's Monday morning in Manila. CNN's Stephanie Elam takes a look at the biggest nominees and this year's hosts.
It's that time of the year, award season in Hollywood. The Golden Globes kick off the festivities by honoring the best in film and television from the last year. The Shape of Water leads the movie categories with 7 nominations, including Best Picture, Drama.
It's a very artful, fantastic, visually striking film, also with an actress, Sally Hawkins, whom they like very much.
The unusual romance faces off against Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, The Post, and 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
So how long has this been going on, this thing?
The inclusion of Get Out for Best Picture in the comedy or musical category stirred up some controversy, but the racially tinged thriller was a fan favorite in theaters.
Sink into the floor.
The box office hit is up against The Disaster Artist, The Greatest Showman, I, Tonya, and Lady Bird. I want more! For television, it's all about the ladies of Big Little Lies. The HBO series is up for 6 awards, the most of any television program, including Best TV Movie or Limited Series.
In addition to being a great show, it's also really on point with the conversation in Hollywood right now.
In fact, expect sexual harassment and sexual assault in the entertainment industry to be addressed during the show. Nominees like Meryl Streep are planning to wear all black in support of the Me Too movement.
And I'm very excited because everyone is going to be there. What's that? Oh, he's not going to be there. Well, that's good. Nobody wants him there.
Seth Meyers, who's hosting the show, is known for his politically charged comedy. His promo posters, which tout, quote, Hollywood, we have a lot to talk about, make it clear the late-night host won't back down at the Globes.
I think it'll be difficult to avoid having some national and presidential politics creep into what Seth Meyers has to say from the stage.
A lot to expect from Hollywood's biggest party. Stephanie Elam, CNN, Hollywood.
For the complete list of nominees, visit our website, cnnphilippines.com. Still ahead, the Ortega family isn't backing down despite the release of former Palawan Governor Joel Reyes. And we walk you through the preparations ahead of Traslacion. Those and more stories when Newsroom Weekend returns. Good evening to our viewers on Facebook Live. Thank you po for joining us this evening. Marami na pong bumabate. Maraming salamat for your greetings. And again, the top story, the debate continues on the new tax reform law. The so-called train is still controversial. Marami pa rin nagsasabi kung pro-poor ba siya or anti-poor. And we'd like to get your thoughts on this. Sana mag-comment po kayo sa ating Facebook Live posts. Remember, higher taxes ang may impose on fuel and sugar. So affected ang lahat ng produktong petrolyo and all sugar-based drinks or sugary drinks, no? Like soft drinks, of course, and yung mga favorite nating the ones in cans or other juices na may sugar. And all other products yata maapektuhan. May explanation dyan yung Department of Trade and Industry and the DOE. So for more material and reading on this issue, visit our website, cnnphilippines.com, para malaman nyo kung anong mga produkto ang affected dito sa tax reform law. Sabi nga ng Ibon Foundation, although 8 million ang hindi maapektuhan, 15 million naman will be burdened by the train law. Welcome back to the program. On Tuesday, millions of Catholic devotees are expected to participate in the Feast of the Black Nazarene. This annual event is seen as an amazing display of faith and religious devotion. Joining me now is Ateneo Professor Mark Calano. He did his postdoctorate on the iconic Nazareno in Berlin. Good evening, Professor. Welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Okay, tell us a bit of the history of the Black Nazarene. Traslacion, as we know it, is where devotees carry a replica of this miraculous statue. They see it as miraculous, the iconic Nazareno across the streets of Manila. Tell us, how did this start?
Well, the image of the Black Nazarene, according to history, was brought into the Philippines by the Augustinian Recollect priests as part of their spreading the Catholic faith. It was brought to the Philippines from Mexico, and from Mexico it was brought into a specific church in Intramuros, and it stayed there for quite some time until the 17th century, when the Archbishop of Manila requested the transfer of the image from Intramuros, inside the walls, to Extramuros, and that is to Quiapo. And that's basically the day, January 9 is basically the day when that transfer was made.
Let's talk about this pilgrimage. Do the devotees somehow do this also to somehow identify with the suffering of Christ?
In one of my ethnographic interviews, I've been studying Quiapo for 4 years now. In fact, I've been studying it quite in terms of its different aspects. But in one of my interviews, I asked them, what are you asking? What are you asking from the Black Nazarene? And the devotee, the mamamasan, and that's how they would like to refer to themselves, would tell me that they're not actually asking for anything, they're actually thanking the Black Nazarene for something, and therefore for favors granted. And then when I ask, what is it that you see in this image that's actually feeling the burden of the cross? And mamamasan corrected me by saying, hindi siya bumabagsak sa krus, patayo siya sa pagkakalaglag sa krus. And for them, their association with the Black Nazarene is not actually the burden of the cross, as it is standing up after a fall. And for me, that's quite a different perspective. It's easier to understand the Black Nazarene as being burdened by the cross instead of rising up from the fall. And for me, a lot of our fellow Filipinos find association not so much with suffering, but with the hope that despite the suffering, they can still stand
Exactly.
up.
Many say this is also a mark of Filipinos' resiliency.
Yes, very much. In fact, a lot of our culture's different aspects are entering into the manifestations and the performance of this devotion. Like I basically say that it's a very physical devotion because most of the devotees of Quiapo, 90% I'd say, comes from the urban poor. And as urban poor, they cannot give money or they cannot give anything to the Nazarene except physical labor, which basically is what they do when they're basically earning for life or looking for a living.
How do you see this practice to be relevant to this day and even for the next generation? Some say this will soon be extinct. What's your reaction to this?
First, it's a raucous spectacle. It's a pandemonium, if I would say. I mean, I've attended the Black Nazarene Translation for the past 4 years, and there was only one attempt where I tried to do the sampa, that is to basically touch the image of the Black Nazarene. But I even failed doing that. And so I'd say, will it go extinct through time? That's the first thing that really struck me. Will it? I don't think it would. For the past 5 years alone, we've seen an increase in the number of participants in the translation from 10 million to almost 15 million last year. 5 million devotees added to the ordinary number of devotees going to the translation yearly. I think that's a significant number worth considering whether this will in fact go extinct or whether it will become in fact a very significant religious experience for a lot of Filipino Catholics.
Ateneo Professor Mark Calano, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In other news, no evidence, no conviction. That's how the Court of Appeals ruled on the case of former Palawan Governor Joel Reyes over the murder of broadcaster and environmentalist Dr. Jerry Ortega. The court says the regional trial court has no basis to continue with the trial for lack of evidence. The former governor had this to say.
Salamat na lang sa mga panalangin ng Palawan niyo. Magsisimba muna ako.
Reyes was charged for being the alleged mastermind behind the killing of Ortega in 2011. His co-accused and his brother, former Coron Mayor Mario Reyes, was released on bail when he ran for vice mayor last year. The Reyes brothers were arrested in Phuket, Thailand in 2015. The Ortega family is shocked with the release of Reyes. In a statement, they say the decision comes weeks before the 7th anniversary of Doc Jerry's murder. They call it 7 years of fighting for justice and press freedom. The family has yet to get a copy of the ruling, but they will seek legal advice and study their next move. But until then, they ask everyone to remain vigilant. Still ahead, we give you an update on the fire that's still raging at a department store in Cebu City. And find out how this cheetah broke records not for speed, but by giving birth. This is Newsroom Weekend on CNN Philippines. Stay tuned. Hello, good evening to our viewers on Facebook Live. Thank you for sticking with us. We have 10 more minutes left in the show. I'd like to read some of your messages at marami nang bumabati sa atin. Si Sally Turtal and si Jean Rodriguez says good evening. And si Leo Ramiro is watching from Riyadh, KSA. Gracia Abe is also watching us tonight. Si Karen Grefaldo Bolima says, good morning. I wonder where you're watching from kasi umaga sa inyo. Well, good morning to you over there. Tell us where you're watching from. Si Mader Care is watching from Davao. And si Alan Cabesan is saying good afternoon. At si Karen. Ayan, si Karen. Ito ba si... Hindi, iba to. Canada. Si Karen Bolima is watching from Canada. And si Alan Cabesan from Jeddah. Si Erica Okawara is watching from Tokyo. And si Mario Medua Bonza says good evening, watching live here in Japan. Hello to all of you. And of course, hello to our fabulous makeup artist. Si Jeff is watching it tonight. I hope you stick around until the end of the show. At marami pa po tayong mga balita. We have an update on the fire sa department store dyan sa Cebu City. Si Dale Israel will be joining us. The Newsroom's back with more stories. Fire is still razing a huge department store in Cebu City. Authorities issue a warning on the haze and toxic fumes that might be dangerous to one's health. Cebu-based journalist Dale Israel is on the line. Dale, what's the latest and how are establishments near the building coping?
My firefighters are still trying to put out the fire here at Metro Gaisano in Ayala Center, Cebu. And that is after 20 hours since the fire began last night. Disaster officials say it will take 2 or more days to put it out. And as of 5 p.m., we're still seeing flames and dark, thick smoke from the building. Meanwhile, hotels and other establishments near the Cebu Park have already taken measures against the haze. At the Golden Prince Hotel, all windows have been locked. All industrial fans have been installed to prevent the smoke from entering the building. Some function rooms have been closed as well. Other hotels like Elizabeth and Atlantic had their guests wear surgical masks. The masks are available for free. Streets surrounding the fire site are also filled with smog, and at times, motorists cannot see the road. The smoke reaches as far as 2 kilometers from Ayala Center, Cebu. The city disaster management office has issued a haze warning on nearby areas to evacuate people with existing lung problems or seek treatment from nearby hospitals. However, smoke has reached the nearest hospital, Perpetual Tokor Hospital, and the patients had to wear surgical masks. Authorities are still unable to enter the building and cannot yet say what caused the fire. Mai?
Stay safe, Dale. Dale Israel there reporting to us from Cebu City. It's been 4 years since Super Typhoon Yolanda left a trail of death and destruction in the Visayas. But government data show only a third of planned permanent houses for the survivors have been completed. That's why some foreign charity organizations are stepping up efforts for these survivors to have new homes. Rex Remitio has that story.
When Super Typhoon Yolanda left a wide swath of destruction in the Visayas in 2013, Nena Casipe of Lemery Town in Iloilo was one of the hundreds of thousands who lost their homes.
Isang time nga pag Yolanda, sinabihan niya yung anak niya, yung bulag, na ang umalis na sa bahay. Pero hindi pa umalis. Sabi niya, yung tubig lumalaki na, tapos yung kahoy na situmbahan na, mabuti na lang at mayroon siyang isang kapitbahay na humatak sa kanyang anak at nakaalis sila doon sa bahay.
Since then, she and her 2 sons had to move from one evacuation site to another.
Nakulbaan kami
Kinakabahan daw siya kasi sa pagstay nila doon sa barangay hall, wala silang makain.
Hi guys! Now finally, after 4 years, they will spend their first night in a place they can call home. Nena is among the 100 beneficiaries who were granted new typhoon resilient homes by the Greg Secker Foundation, a British charity organization. It was an emotional day as some couldn't hold back tears.
We're all in this together, aren't we? I mean, just because I'm British and you're Filipino doesn't mean we aren't all brothers and sisters related in some way. And if we're fortunate enough to live in a very safe part of the world, then I think we have a duty of care and responsibility that if we can help, we should help.
The foundation plans to make a business center to help kickstart local businesses, like restaurants, groceries, and pharmacies, and a training center for education and skills development.
The next step is really to help them flourish and thrive naman. So we're going to teach them skills that they can use so that they can, sustain the village.
Rebuilding their lives in a new place is no easy task, but she says it's a good beginning. Rex Remitio, CNN, Philippines.
A cheetah at a zoo in Missouri becomes an instant celebrity just by giving birth. The feline shattered expectations and even broke a record. CNN's Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
A cheetah recently gave birth to 8 cubs at the St. Louis Zoo, and she broke a record in the process. The 3 males and 5 females were born at the zoo's breeding center on November 26th. Of the 430 litters on record with the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, it's the largest ever recorded at a zoo. Cheetah litters typically consist of 3 to 4 cubs. The zoo says the cubs and their mother, Binghua, are doing well. The litter will remain with their mother in a private indoor den for several months. Outdoor dining is usually a no-go during the winter months in Minnesota, but one rooftop bar in Rochester came up with a creative alternative. La Veta installed plastic heated igloos on the roof, which became very popular among customers. But the bar's general manager is being forced to remove the igloos due to a city ordinance that says no building more than 55 feet tall can have membrane structures on it. The GM says he understands the city workers are just doing their job, and he can't guarantee the igloos will make a return. Finally, take a look at this time-lapse video that'll give you a good idea of the kind of extreme weather the country is dealing with. The video showing snowfall piling up was shot over a 13-hour period in Williamsburg, Virginia. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Millions of Black Nazarene devotees are set to join the procession or traslacion on Tuesday, January 9th. But the panata starts early for some with a so-called pabihis, where they clothe images of the Santo Entierro. Our Camille Abadisio gives us a look.
First, the golden rays, a crown of thorns, and then the gold-embroidered maroon garment, all carefully placed on the Black Nazarene. Members of the Pabihis Committee here at Quiapo Church dress up 3 images of the iconic statue, Santo Entierro, the Crucifix, and the Vicario, which is paraded around the streets of Manila on the day of the feast. It's a ritual they do every year.
Ang pabihis ay ginagawa namin ito 7 times a year. Yung damit na pinagbihisan, pinipilahan ng mga tao para makahawak o mahalikan. Alam mo, mga tao, hanggat maaari makahawak, nasisira nga ako minsan yung mga damit sa paghatak ng mga tao.
Yet for Brother Ben Simbahan, preparing the Black Nazarene for the biggest Catholic event of the year strengthens his faith each time.
Mafe-feel mo na dahil habang nagbibihis ka, natatouch mo yung kanyang, yes, it is only an image, but siyempre, ang nasa isip mo, ang binibihisan mo is yung image reflecting the personality of Jesus Christ.
Brother Ben says every devotee has a different story.
Sa tingin ng iba, sabihin, anong klase bang pananampalataya yan? Pero nasa faith yun ng tao na by so doing, nandun yung nararamdaman niya na parang nare-relieve siya sa problema niya.
For Maria Cristina, a devotee since childhood, the religious icon sprinkles her with little miracles.
Nananalig lang ako sa kanya. Hindi niya ako pinababayaan kahit kailan, kahit saan ako pumunta. Basta nananalig ako ng mataimtim, bukal sa kalooban ko.
On January 9th, millions of people will join the procession that takes several hours. Some walk barefoot to prove their fierce devotion, each one whispering a different prayer, atoning for sins. until they reach Quiapo Church, the Nazarene's home. Camille Abadisio, CNN Philippines.
That's what's happening in the newsroom.